It is sunset on the top of Imogen Pass.
Why you buy $600 worth of rigid lights for the front of your Jeep so when you fuck up, you can get home?
Hold on, let's back up for a second and talk about Imogen Pass before Dom and I attempt to descend the trail in the dark, like real not smart people. Imogen Pass is a well-traveled mining road connecting Telluride to Ouray, first built in 1870 and named after the wife of Andy Richardson, who is the business partner of Tom Walsh, owner of the Camp Bird mine that the road accessed. Only a few feet lower than Mosquito Pass, Imogen is the second highest drivable mountain pass in Colorado, coming in at 13,114 feet, just shy of the 13,185 of Mosquito. Heading up this trail from Telluride is unassumingly intimidating, with the majority of the uphill climb consisting of narrow shelf roads, and even though the road itself is mostly flat and easy to drive, it is one of only a few narrow shelf roads that has traveled in both directions. And it is important to remember that uphill drivers have the right of way, which means that if you are heading down this section and encounter uphill traffic, it is your responsibility to reverse uphill until there is room for the ascending traffic to pass you. What is probably the best out of many of the driving features on this section is the social tunnel, which has been used by horses, wagons, and vehicles for more than 130 years to access the mining town of Tomboy and Camp Bird Mine. The story goes that the workers from the mining camps would travel down to the tunnel to meet with girls for social visits, since prostitutes weren't allowed any closer to the mining town. Did I read that right? Real talk, I couldn't find any actual historical sources to back this claim up, but this has been reported by some reputable sources, like Deb Stanley of the Denver 7 Morning News. So, that's a thing. Moving up the trail, you come to the ruins of what used to be the Tomboy mining town, home to those dirty, dirty miners. And although not much remains of the town, back in its heyday, the town surprisingly hosted a school, a store, stables, tennis courts, a bowling alley, a YMCA, restaurants, bars, and a post office. That's more than my hometown. After passing Tomboy and reaching the peak of Imogen,
It is sunset on the top of Imogen Pass.
Yep.
you head down towards the Camp Bird mine over some moderately easy, relatively tame but tight shelf roads to a famous rock that you can drive out onto overlooking Camp Bird Basin, and after a photo shoot that takes some bravery, you can drive down and explore where some of the old mines were located. Well, we could have done that if we hadn't screwed up and ended up descending the trail at night.
Why you buy $600 worth of rigid lights for the front of your Jeep so when you fuck up, you can get home?
I know that I mentioned that the trail on the way down was relatively tame, but Imogen has claimed lives, and there are accidents on this trail even with experienced drivers. Without Dom having his lights, there would have been no way to navigate Imogen with the Ugly Mountain Tacos factory headlights, and at several cliffside technical sections, Dom had to use his reverse lights to help me spot the lines. And even with all of that, we still had to get out of the vehicles at sections and walk our lines. I have to say that there's another level of fear brought on by the inability to see the bottom of the cliff that you are beside while trying to descend the difficult sections. With all of the tension and extra time needed to complete the trail in the dark, we did finally make it to the end and back to the camp. I cannot express enough how much I do not recommend doing this unless you are extremely prepared, but I will note that I could not find any rules against driving the trails at night, so proceed with caution.
Somebody died on Imogen,
Yeah, right where we crossed that water in the middle of the night. Smashed their Jeep up against a rock.
and then they tried to swim out of it.
Took them 2 weeks to find her.
You made it to the end, you know I earned that sub, click it.